So it'll be the time for the I'm more into the
Yeah, it's a Joe show again.
yeah, right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back on. Mr. Benton, how's it report?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Approximately 5 p.m. Council open the meeting and recessed into closed session for discussions of items CS1 through 4, pursuant to California Government Code 54956.9 and California Government Code 54956.8 real property negotiations. For each of these items, direction was given, no final action was taken. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, it is now approximately 6:07, 6:08, and we are starting the regular meeting. This meeting is now called to order. Please remember, if you have phones, please make sure that they are on vibrate or off, please. And would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and convocation.
Please salute the flag. Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, thank you again for the opportunity to do the business of our city and community tonight. We pray for wisdom from on high, help the decisions that are made to better this community. We pray for our troops that are scattered around this world, many in very difficult places. We pray for their protection. We pray for those that are protecting us in our own community tonight. Would you keep them safe in Jesus' name? Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Listanovich,
Present.
Smith,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Paris,
Here.
Mayor McGuire.
Here. Madam Clerk, reports or late communications?
Yes, sir. These are from JM Powers first, February 1st, regarding stop light chart, a relevant management tool for fund status. February 2nd, recommend the Investment Review Committee separate water and sewer cash and public safety cash in the general investment accounts of the treasurer's report. And February 3rd, financial statements reveal water and sewer funds were not credited with $420,000 of interest from investment earnings and loans to other city funds. And that is it.
Thank you, Ben. Civic Community Organization announcements. Please state name and who you are affiliated with, please, for the record, and make sure the mic's on.
Somebody's on.
Sounds like it's
Yeah.
Okay, good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to speak this evening. My name is Abigail Solis, and I work with South Health Enterprises. And I'm here this evening to provide the Council with an update on the natural gas project that will be happening, will be starting up very soon. And I understand that I'm not on the agenda, so thank you very much for the opportunity. I did want to provide an update, and I promise that I will only take about 5 minutes. I do have a copy of some slides for you if that's okay for the council? Okay, so like I mentioned, I'm with Self-Help Enterprises. We are a nonprofit organization located in Tulare County out of Visalia, California. And we're happy to be here this evening to provide this update. This is about Southern California's natural gas pilot project. And then before I get started, I do want to introduce a couple of folks. I have with me my coworker, Arlene, who will be working to help the community enroll. And I also, on behalf of SoCalGas, is Rob. I don't want to say his last name wrong. Many of you know him, and he'll also be around to answer any questions if anybody has any. And then maybe we'll give him a couple minutes to give him any updates he has. So just quickly, many of you were involved the past couple of years with community meetings that the CPUC held here for the community of California City. And the idea was to assess the interest from the community between having natural gas or an electric project. And really it was an effort to help those residents who are still using propane and never got connected to natural gas. So after doing community outreach meetings and receiving community feedback for a couple of years, the CPUC came to a decision and authorized money for 12 pilots within the San Joaquin Valley counties. And one of those pilots is the pilot we're talking about here today. So I'm just gonna go over talk a little bit about the project, who the partners are, the timeline, and what's included, what appliances are included, and invite you all to our kickoff meeting that we're having at the end of this month where residents can come get additional information. So SoCalGas is the utility company that is administrating this project. They will oversee the project, and they will also hire the implementers that will be coming out to do the work. Self-Help Enterprises, we're involved because we are going to be assisting residents with the application process. For anyone who is interested in participating in this project, they must complete an application for the program, and we will help them with that. And we will also make sure that they have all of the resources that they need and that they take full opportunity of all the benefits that this program includes. So a little bit about the project, because like I said, the CPUC has approved it. It is a pilot, and the point is to provide, to convert 224 homes that are currently using propane or still burning wood, so they are currently not connected to natural gas lines, and help them to convert from propane to natural gas. So it's the physical connection of the pipeline, and also replace the old propane appliances with new natural gas appliances. And this will all happen at no charge to the residents of California City. Obviously, there are some benefits to you going from propane to natural gas. One, it's a lot more affordable for residents. It's reliable, it's clean, and much more renewable and cleaner than the propane fuel that's currently being used. It has health and comfort, and safety benefits for each of the family. Also, throughout this project, there's a number of potential economic development opportunities, so that we plan on hiring local contractors to help us do the work. And then lastly, and most importantly, there's no cost to any of your residents. Quickly, there is a part of this project that's called the bill protection measure. And not only are residents who convert from propane to natural gas going to get to participate for free, there's also going to be a total of $160 credit that will be given to them for the first 3 years. So it'll be applied to their bill. So it'll be an additional discount. And we'll talk more about this at the community meeting. So overall, the way that a resident can participate in this project is go through the different phases. The first phase is the outreach and education phase, where we have community meetings. We give people all of the information they need about the project. And then is the application phase where we will be helping people to actually complete their application either in their home or maybe at the community center. We're going to give people many opportunities to complete the application if they're interested. Then from there they will move on to the home assessment phase. So every home will be assessed to see if they qualify. If they do, they'll move on to the installation phase, and then there'll be a final inspection and a post-participation survey. SoCalGas has a very aggressive timeline to get this done. The outreach period is between February and April, and that's when we'll be having these community meetings, and we'll be assisting with the application process. We hope that all of the home assessments will be done from March to June, with construction of the pipeline being done from July to August, and then finally actually converting the homes from August to October. So we do plan on, we've already started, and we do plan on getting done by October. So just a little bit of additional information. Every home will be assessed, and that assessment must be complete before a home is determined qualified or not. We, as Self-Help Enterprises, will assist anyone who lives in the project area to complete the application, but I just want to make it clear for residents that it's not until the home assessment is complete and the project implementer will determine whether or not a home actually qualifies after that home is assessed. If they are able to participate, and hopefully most are, the appliances that are included are a storage water heater, a natural gas dryer, a natural gas range, and depending on the way the heater is set up, it could be a natural gas wall furnace or a forced air unit. These are the 4 types of appliances that are included in the conversion. So the idea is that you will no longer use the old propane ones. You'll receive these new natural gas appliances. There's also some other work that will be done in the home if they need weatherization. Other services will be provided. There is a project map that is in the handout that shows all of the streets that are included in the project. Without being able to go over every street, what I understand, the homes that were selected to participate in this project are homes on streets that currently have natural gas lines in the street now. So there's already gas lines running, and there's probably a home or two connected to natural gas already. So because of that, it is much more affordable for SoCalGas to go in and run the gas line from the street to the home. If someone lives in a home on a street that is not part of this map, it's probably because you live in a street that does not have natural gas lines already in the street. I do want to note that there were 2 pilot projects approved for California City. One is the natural gas one that I'm here talking about today that is starting now. The second is another program for Southern California Edison, and that is to help the homes outside of this project area, help them to go all electric, and essentially will do the same thing, provide all new electric appliances for the homes, for up to 100 homes outside of this project area. They are planning to start their pilot towards the end of the year once we wrap up this one. So just FYI, I just wanted to let you know, for those who need this information, that if you don't live in this project area, there is still an opportunity to participate in the electric project later on at the end of the year. So I want to invite anybody who is in the project area or who wants to get more information to come to the kickoff meeting that we're having at the end of this month. It is on February 26th at 6 p.m. At the Arts and Community Center at 10400 Heather Avenue. And there is when we'll have much more time to go into the details of the project. And if somebody knows that they're interested and wants to participate, we'll get all of their contact information, and we'll make sure to move forward with their application.
And if possible, if we could get maybe a copy of the map forwarded to us so we can get that out to the public.
Yes, absolutely. We can.
Thank you for that. Do you have a contact
information or an email that, because the public's gonna start calling tomorrow. Yes. You want me to do yours specifically? So Arlene is the project manager assigned to this project. So it is on, the last page here. It is Arlene, ARLENEG @selfhelpenterprises.org. And even though, you can call the front office, I can give you her direct line, area code 559-802-1773. And we have, so SoCal Gas went out and did outreach door to door a couple of weeks ago. They left flyers at the door of every home in the project area. So there should have been some communication already. And since then, we have started to get calls. Yeah. So are there any questions that I can quickly answer? If not, I'll give Rob a couple of minutes. Good? Okay. Rob, you want-
Thank you, Abigail. Thank you, Mayor and council members. Rob Duca with Southern California Gas Company. As Abigail mentioned, we have had some outreach already. The first week of January, we mailed some information to the 224 is what we've been talking about, but we actually identified 227 addresses in this area. That was mailed the first week of January. We got some responses from that. On January 27th, myself and 5 of my colleagues went to all 227 of these addresses. We found some addresses where there's no buildings. We found some addresses that have all electric appliances, and so they're not eligible because you need to have either propane or wood heat to be eligible. Either propane appliance or wood heat to be eligible. We found some that already have natural gas that somehow got on our list. So right now we're at about 175 homes. When we talked to homeowners, we got some information where nobody was home. We left a flyer. My understanding is that Self Help Enterprises is going out next week to do similar door-to-door outreach that we did. So this meeting on February 26th is for these approximately 175 homes specifically. And so they would have gotten a letter in the mail. They would have gotten a door hanger from us, and we'll get a door hanger from Self Help Enterprises next week if we didn't speak to them in person. So it's very helpful to them and important to them and helpful to us if they, these identified homeowners and residents, even if they're not a homeowner, if they're a tenant, that they come out to this meeting on the 26th, and we welcome public officials as well. And we can go into a lot more depth and give more details, but our goal is to have these homes connected to natural gas and enjoying a more affordable, more reliable energy before the next heating season begins.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
The design of the project is houses that have natural gas currently in front of them but did not
Are not
change over.
connected to it. We identified houses, virtually most, if not all of them, already have natural gas in the street in front of their home. So we'll be installing little, if any, new pipelines in the streets. They'll be connecting houses to that pipeline that's already in the street.
Is there any opportunity for houses that are very close to natural gas to have gas extended to them?
Not under this program at this time. There's always an opportunity at the homeowner's expense to do that, but under this program at this time. Our hope is to demonstrate to the Public Utilities Commission the success of this, and that they give us permission to go forward with what you're describing in the future. As Abigail said, this is a pilot project, and if you remember, close to 2 years ago when we started this, we were looking at about 1,100 homes. The PUC asked us to scale it back because it is a pilot project, and so we're trying to demonstrate to the PUC that this is effective and that there'll be more phases after this pilot to do what you described.
If I heard it right, it sounds like everyone in this area, they're gonna be able to get this incredible benefit.
Right.
I would encourage the community to share this and pass the word. This is pretty amazing, so thank you folks for doing this.
Thank you for helping to get the word out.
Thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you.
Is there anybody else in reference to civic community organization announcements? Seeing nobody else coming up, city managers report.
We have a brief report, and then our chiefs will speak. A couple of dates, February 22nd, Saturday at 10 a.m. will be the new council candidate interviews. February 25th, the council meeting you will have the master fee schedule for approval. And on March 10th, we'll be doing the mid-year review on that agenda. We'll try to keep the rest of the agenda light. An update on Granicus, we will launch it at the next meeting. So we'll give it a shot. Cameras for sure, it'll be able to stream for sure. And then we'll see what we get done with training, but we'll have it streamed on the 25th.
And then, what was the date again for the interviews for candidates?
Saturday the 22nd, 10 a.m. I was gonna talk about the natural gas, but they did a better job, so. Pass it to the chiefs.
Good evening, council, public. As far as our updates, our 2019 annual report has been published on our fire department website, CalCityFire.us, and our Facebook page, so you can see our last year's accomplishments, what we've done in the department. February 24th at 10 a.m., we have tentatively scheduled a second meeting for some discussion on the proposed rental inspection ordinance for code enforcement. We are informed today that with a significant amount of water line blowouts during this time, we acquisitioned on dispatch a few water tenders and extra response just in case we had any water issues, so we were always prepared no matter what water source we had for today. Those have all been resolved per Public Works. And the most exciting news today is our new fire engine is currently in Ontario, so just about an hour or two away. It's getting its final touches, and once we get a solid date, we're going to announce a kind of a public meet and greet, push-in ceremony that'll celebrate its deployment into the fleet.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to give out some of the totals from last year as we ended out the year. We ended our year with 21,345 incidents, which resulted in 762 arrests and 966 citations, which put us 9% up over the prior year. The end of January, we started out pretty slow, which is a good thing for us. We were at about 1,400 incidents, which resulted in 50 arrests and about 51 citations. So hopefully if that trend continues, we're gonna have a better year, and I'll take all the credit. So, some of the commendable capers that we've had as of recent was at the end of January, we had attempt murder up on North Loop. My officers did an excellent investigation where they were able to identify 2 suspects who left the scene and the car. And within 7 days, the lead officer on that, he stayed on it like a bulldog. And within 7 days, we had both of those suspects in custody and went to court this week and held answer. Just yesterday, we had a stolen car report later on in the day. And one of my officers on his way home off duty actually saw the car and notified CHP. And that car was chased, was in pursuit. The pursuit ended, and all 4 occupants were taken into custody. So I thought that was a good heads up on an off-duty officer. Some of the really good news coming up is I've got 2 laterals coming in ready to start right around the 1st of March. That's going to be up to HR on where they're going to start within the pay period. I have at least 3 in backgrounds, and we have 2 set up to go to the March Academy in San Bernardino. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine and non-controversial and will be approved by one motion if no member of the council, staff, or public wishes to comment or ask questions. Public comments to be limited, please, to 3 minutes, and a roll call vote is required. Consent calendar 1, approved city check register dated through 2/6/2020. CC2, minutes meeting dates of 12/10/19 and 1/28/20. Waive readings of subject minutes, approved as written and ordered filed. CC3, approve waiver for midnight closure of Central Park on March 21st, 2020. And CC4, accept the TDA Article 3 grant and approve BHT Engineering, Inc. for the design of the sidewalk infill project on Heather Avenue, Phase 2 project. With that, does anybody from the public have any questions in reference to CC 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Good evening, Jim Creighton. On CC4, I have no issue with the project, but in the future, I'd like to see some visuals. An overhead of the location, some outlines of what's gonna happen, where the drive and ADA access locations will be. Some folks won't drive to locations, look at them, but they may have comments, questions, or concerns.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Not hearing or seeing anybody else bringing it up here. Sir, do you have any?
I just wanna, if I could put input on CC3. Thank you, sir. Want to put input on CC3. This is gonna be a first ever Friends of the NRA dinner. Kind of a big deal for our community. So if you're wondering why it's gonna be midnight closures for that.
The brochure for that is behind our city manager, if anybody would like to take a look at it. If you need any more information, you can contact Councilman Smith or myself. We're both members of Friends of the NRA for this banquet. And like you said, it's the first annual banquet ever in California City. Stop there. Okay, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions tonight, sir? Everything's been asked and answered for me, so that being said, looking for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Got a first, looking for a second? I'll second. Got a first and a second. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Lucinovich,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Paris,
Yes.
Mayor McGuire,
Yes.
motion carried.
Continued business RFQ for water/sewer fee study, standby water fee, and updates to water sewer master plan. Mr. Berrigan.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a continuation on the RFQ for our water sewer fee study, standby fee study, and updates to our water and sewer master plan. We took the comments that we received from everybody and we incorporated the ones we could into our final draft here that was attached to the staff report. We're just recommending City Council approve the RFQ, the final draft that we attached to the staff report to be advertised this month so we can find a qualified firm to bring this project forward. And also we are asking for $3,000 to advertise it.
Anybody from the public have any questions on this? If you do, please step up.
Good evening, Mayor McGuire and Council. There's been a lot of discussion over a period of years about the water standby fees. I don't know if there's any thoughts from the council or staff or discussion with respect to the recommendation or the request for recommendation as it relates to those tens of thousands of parcels that do not have proximity to an existing water line. For example, are you open to the engineer's recommendation, or do you have an opinion that maybe to be asking for what the actual cost of service is for the properties that have a water transmission line versus those parcels that do not have a water transmission line. And so in your own notes, if you've not asked that question, perhaps it's an opportunity for you to determine if there is a cost of service, if you're going to be asking for a recommendation from the engineer. It's a complex matter, it's above my pay grade, but I'm certainly curious with water law trend, what is appropriate for the request for qualifications. If you're going to address the issue of all those tens of thousands of parcels that are currently levied. Last year, your council directed staff to bring back a waiver for those parcels. And there's been some banter about whether the waiver form was comprehensive. So I ask if you have an opinion, I ask if you know what your intent is, or you're waiting for the engineer to make those recommendations. You don't know? Okay. I didn't think so.
What were we just talking about? Hi, Silver Car. On the RFQ coming before the RFP, I'm still a bit confused. That's a lot of money to be spending, and I realize that there's a claim that the RFQ comes first in jobs such as this. However, we're not a big city, we don't have a lot of money to spend, in fact, we have very little money to spend. So why is it that we're not getting an RFP and then choosing from those that we can afford and then doing an RFQ? That's even when it's a federal job. I used to work for an electric contractor, and when we had federal jobs, that's how it was done. You got your RFP, and then you did your RFQs from what you were given with the RFPs, like what you chose. You took the top 3 that you were willing to work with, their price. I mean, you got to pick your price. You weren't constrained to only these qualified people are allowed to use for your project. You got to choose your price, and then you took the best qualified out of those. So I'm just a little unclear. I mean, there's a claim that we're supposed to have the RFQ first, but was there a law cited? I'd like to know what makes that legitimate. You know, I mean, I know somebody held up a book and said it's in here, but I never heard any code cited. And I'd like to know what that code is, because even federal is not that stringent, and we don't have a lot of money to waste. Anyway, that's my concern. Thank you.
Mr. Bergen?
I believe she's confusing the GIS staff report with this one. So on this one, we're gonna do RFQ for several reasons. There's gonna be a lot of components to this study. We're gonna do the studies, the updates to the master plan and so forth. So when we go off for a request for qualifications as opposed to a request for proposal, we end up picking the most qualified firm. Once we have the most qualified firm, we're able to sit down with them and negotiate a price. So what'll happen is if we have 15 components, we can, maybe we end up negotiating to only do 3 because of the cost. Where if you do a request for proposal, you're pretty much stuck with doing the whole proposal or nothing at all. So if we do a request for proposal and it comes back that it's $600,000, the city either says yes or no. If we do a request for qualifications and then we get a qualified firm to do this, we can sit down with them and maybe we decide to only spend $80,000 or $100,000 on what we feel is the most important at this time. And then maybe in a year or 2, we come back and do other things when there's more money available. So that is why we decided to do an RFQ as opposed to RFP.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else have any questions? Yes, sir.
Just to chime in, bearing that knowledge, as the city attorney, The RFQ is legally sufficient.
Anybody else? Coming up here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, my concern is we had a pretty lengthy discussion with having over the RFQ before. I really don't want to see our city select a certain firm. I think as I said last meeting, having three bids is pretty, I think it saves us, and I think this is gonna get us in the same situation as last time. So I would encourage us to do the RFP and send it out for proposals. That would be my thought.
I just wanna see this move. It's how do we get this done? That's about all I'm concerned with now. I think there's certainly reasons to side with staff on the RFQ. I guess the part that we don't know is just what this can cost. You know, how large a price tag this project has attached to it. And I think that's what we're, until we have some sort of idea of what that is, I don't know how we make a final decision. That's gonna be the final decision to make, is the total cost. And if it comes in too high, then we're pushing it out further to get that answer, or to get to the place of saying, please do this report for us. So I think this RFQ will work for us. I don't know if it'll get us the best price, but it'll work for us to live within our means.
Mayor Pro Tem? Okay, since we're through with this, excuse me, do we, looking for a motion to approve? And along with the $3,000 for advertising?
I will make that motion.
First, looking for a second.
I'll second it.
Got a first and a second. Madam Clerk? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lucinovich,
Aye.
Smith,
Nay.
Mayor Pro Tem Paris,
Yes.
Mayor McGuire.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Continue business 2, refund due OHMVR division for visitor center / equipment shop project, OHV manager Helms.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight's agenda, we have the reimbursement that needs to be paid back to the the grants division. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read the staff report. Grant funding was reimbursed in the amount of $74,674.67 towards the visitor center equipment shop project at Barksville Park by the Department of Parks and Recreation Highway Motor Vehicle Recreation Program. At the October 8, 2019 council meeting, it was decided that all operations cease on said project. As a result, the OHMVR division is requiring a refund due for funds reimbursed to the city of California City. The amount due of $74,674.67 must be received by the division no later than February 23rd of this year. A letter of termination for the visitor center equipment shop grant was filed with the division on December 21st. Recommendation is that City Council approve the payment due to the OHMVR division in the amount of $74,674.67 by February 23rd. Any questions?
Does anybody from the public have any questions? Does anybody from the public have any questions in reference to this? Anybody from up here? Sir? Oh, yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So if that comes from the general fund, obviously it's not optimum. Can the OHV pay that back over a period of years?
Through the permit fund
Yes,
money?
so that the general fund's made whole? I know this has to be paid, but
So the general fund would pay upfront, and then, Fund 29 would pay periodically.
Yeah.
For how many years and how much are you looking at?
That's
Was there any attempt to negotiate with the state the repayment? Was there any attempt to say that since the money was spent and that this would now come out of future revenues, that maybe we would finance it over a course of like 4 years, maybe?
We can do that in-house, but they need the full amount up front. Within the project.
Did we request paying it over the course of a period of time?
No, I did not request that. I received a letter from Sixto Fernandez, which is the grants manager at that division, and he gave me 60 days to pay back the full amount. That was the agreement in the project, that if the project does not move forward and it is not completed, that any funds used must be repaid.
Well, I don't think there's any, I know that I have no issue with repaying it, but I wonder if we could, since this money was spent over 7 years or longer than that, I think.
17 that it was approved.
It's the grant year is 15.
15, so I'm just saying that since it took us 4 years to spend it, how about giving us 4 years to pay it back? Since when we pay it back, we have absolutely nothing to show for that money. And I gotta think that the state would understand that this is coming from either the general fund or from the program itself. I think they would be understanding. That's the thing, I would like to see that happen first.
The thing is then I'll have to bring it back. Well, I have to bring it back and then it'll be voted on whether we can do that. Because if I do that, then we're gonna go past the.
Well, the state's used to not getting their money on time from lots of people, so I think you could get away with it.
I don't want to take that chance. We're already not in good standing, so I don't want to further push.
That's not pushing. Every municipality out there is in financial crisis. This is a crisis, and we're repaying funds for something that we got nothing for.
I understand.
I think they'll listen. I think they'll think about it, and if it comes a week late or 2 weeks late, or if they give us 4 years to pay it off, I think they'll listen, and I think that that's what you should do first.
Is there a way that we can move forward in that direction, but if they say no, then is there a way that you can vote on having it paid so that I can stay within the time frame? I really would like to stay within this time frame. I'm working really hard to build a good relationship with the state, and I don't want another hiccup.
You guys tell me, I just threw out my 2 cents.
I think that would be good if we were to go ahead and approve the payment, but try to get a payment plan first through the state. So we don't have to pay it all in one shot. And basically, you gave us 4 years. And this amount was covered over 4 years, give us 4 years to pay it back. That's what I think.
Well, you don't want to hear from me. At our finance workshop on this past week, we looked at the last 6 years and our dwindling reserves. Last night with I was told initially 5, 6, 7, 8 blowouts, massive. That's why we have the reserves. How much funds does OHV have?
I pulled the December report and cash on hand for the permit fund because the grants are projected. For the general, it looks like we have 288,000.
Well,
Now, is that monies that we have that we can use to pay off this?
Can you please answer that?
I just cannot, especially after last night, especially after Friday. I just can't approve out of the general fund reserve to pay that. I think it should be paid out of the OHV. There are funds there, and I would certainly recommend it to pay it from OHV, but, I can't vote to take it out of the general fund reserve.
Okay.
What are the consequences for not paying this? Program's down.
Yeah. The way the program works is if you're in bad standing, it holds the remainder of the program from moving forward. So when I came in, I had to fix certain grant years to be able to move forward to this point. So everything holds everything else up. So if they don't receive the check, then the grants for this year will not be executed. And so it just puts a hold from being able to get reimbursements because we're already moving forward with the program. So the general fund is already paying for the expenses within that program. So it just holds up the reimbursement coming back to the city.
We'll look into it, but sometimes you're not allowed to use grant monies to pay them back. It's allocated or earmarked for other things, so that may not be possible.
Well, I appreciate Mrs. Elms's transparency. We use that a lot. What I have found is, city government does not want to be transparent. So you must ask several questions, but I appreciate the fact that you answered our questions, and it was very disappointing to hear, if I have the number right, $118,000 plus because of a snafu. 118,000 came out of general fund for OHV. So that's what we've taken a major hit. I don't know why we can't. If we can pay it at OHV, we need to, but I certainly cannot vote to take it out of reserves. It's gotta come from somewhere. There's gonna have to be cuts made somewhere if we can't take out of what you have, but I don't see how we could honestly take it out of our general fund reserve, especially after what we found out this week and what occurred last night. I just don't see how we can.
I understand, and all these decisions were made before I came in. So that, and I did not make the decision to cease the operations either. So I'm in a spot where I need to correct, I need to fix in order to keep the program moving forward. So I guess we're just gonna need to do whatever we need to do, because I am not willing to put our city in another position of bad standing. I want it to be repaired so we can move forward and grow the program.
Can you explain, Mrs. Elms, you shared, and I don't know enough to be able to explain it, but we took a 10-point hit?
Yes, anytime that, in the applications, when you submit a new application, one of the questions is, have you ever been in bad standing with the department, with the OHMDR department? So if you answer yes, you don't get the 10 points that you would have received had you answered no. So our city, our agency is beginning already in a -10. And it's extremely important to receive every point possible because they're all graded on a point system. The better the points, the more money you get awarded. So it's all relative, it's all connected. Does that explain your?
Yes, thank you, ma'am. I'm sure the more discussion, but I would certainly be willing to make a motion that we pay this, but out of OHV funds, not out of the reserve.
What if that's not possible?
Then we're gonna have to take cuts elsewhere, because I just can't see us taking this out of reserves. We don't have the money in reserves to pay for this. There'll have to be cuts elsewhere. Gotta come from somewhere.
Even with the agreement to pay back?
Whatever it takes to pay it back, we need to, but I personally cannot vote to take this out of reserves. Friday, what we found out, last night, throughout the day, we need every penny in our reserves.
I understand that, I do understand that, we owe it though,
So whatever you need to do to make the cuts elsewhere, but I'm just saying, I cannot vote to take this out of reserves. We're gonna have to make cuts elsewhere. we'll have to make cuts elsewhere to pay this, if we can't take that out of OHV.
And bring it back later for approval with the plan.
Well, we're out of time if we've gotta pay this by the 23rd. I heard 288,000 in permit monies. Is that what I was hearing? How much, monies do we have available out of permits? Do we have any idea?
Can I show you that?
If it's permit monies, we can take out of that,
Right.
for sure. We can take out of the general, the permit money.
Then I'd like to entertain that motion, Mr. Mayor, if I would be able to.
Second.
Got a first and second, so that's gonna, yeah.
You read it wrong.
You're
wrong.
Yeah, hang on for a second.
Come out of that fund.
Okay, so what fund is it coming out of?
It would come out of the Fund 29, which is the permit fund.
And what's the full account number on that? You know off the top of your head.
29-01010.
And that would be the 74,674.67, correct?
Yes.
How much is available?
According to the December report, there's $288,617.70.
Yeah, do a second call real fast.
All right, John Elms. If we don't pay this back, you guys gotta find somewhere and somehow to pay it back. But if we don't pay it back, the entire program will be shut down. And then not only will my wife lose her job, there'll be like 6 or 10 people that work out there that will lose their job as well. So you're gonna affect a lot of people if you guys don't pay this back. I'm not the one who said no to the building out there. All of you up there did. So because of that, you knew that there was a $74 or $74,000 reimbursement money that you guys needed to give back. So now's the day that we have to do it. We can't wait another week. We're already in bad standing. You guys don't understand. A 10-point difference is huge. If she asked for 400,000, she might get 200,000 because of the point difference. It goes on a point basis. So if you guys don't know how the grant system works, you really need to read up on it. 10 points is huge. They start from the best points and work down to the bottom points. You know, and if she writes a great grant and gets 10 points, she gets dinged no matter what. So this year is going to be tough anyway to get money. So we got to find some way to pay this back today, please.
Thank you, sir.
I got kind of a different solution. Might work, might not, I don't know. Jim Creighton. If you take the 74,674, they spent 4 years spending it. So if you divide that by 4, that's 18,668.67. If they pay back 18,668 of that, and the city kicks in the rest, that's $56,006. This is kind of convoluted, but it does work out in math. If OHV pays that back to the city on a 4-year basis, it's $14,000 a year. Still get it paid off, but whatever happens tonight, it's stated in there, you need a 4/5 vote. So it has to be unanimous for what you guys are gonna do tonight. If not, the other alternative is, on the 22nd, you agendize it right after you make the selection for the next council member.
The permit fund does not need a 4/5 vote, because it's not reserved.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, we have sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Tammy Johnson, California City. I appreciate the attention to detail Ms. Elms is giving us. I know she took over something that probably wasn't easy to take over. She wants to get us back in good standing immediately, and I think it's important. And I do have a problem with it coming out of the general fund, but I think it needs to be paid so that we can get going on the right path here, because this is a very good thing for our community, and I fully support that, so.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'm bringing it back up here.
So what was your motion?
Motion was for taking it out of the OHV funds that we were told were there, and to pay it its entirety, make it. Mrs. Elms wants to get this bill taken care of, that we can attempt for her to get us back in good standing, and all for paying it back, but paying it out of the OHV funds, however it comes from the OHV funds. That was the motion. Councilman Lucinovich seconded that.
Can we add to that motion that it be taken out of Fund 29-01010? It has a balance of $288,617.17. It only requires a 2/3 vote, so let's take it out of that fund.
That's the motion.
Yes.
So if there's a request to amend the motion, you first will need to agree, and second will need to agree.
We'll agree to that, if I don't have to remember
That's fine.
So the motion on the table incorporates the changes.
But in light of the second comments that have come up, the idea that the program has suffered because we went through with a project that was ill-conceived or followed up, however you want to look at it, the project itself didn't work. That's something that sooner or later we have to take responsibility for. And the fact is that even if we pay this money back, we're not going to be in good standing because we lost our 10 points already. So, those are threats that don't really mean very much at this point. If that 10 points is enough to make it so that we don't qualify for grants, this is just now going to start the process over for other years, and we're going to see if the project survives, or the program survives. Should the program be paying for its cost to the community? And that's how it was designed in the first place. So we need to move forward.
Can I just say something?
Sure, of course.
The information that I'm giving you is, they're not threats, they're factual information.
I understand that.
Okay, so I just want to be clear on that. It's not a threat.
Well, no, the 10 points is a threat. But the point is that we
It's a
can't get it
fact.
back. But we can't get it back. I mean,
Yes,
we
Yes, we can.
not this year, not this year,
But
we're finished.
this is a step towards that.
Well, that's the point. It comes to me as a threat up here that if we don't pay it, the 10 points is gonna make us not getting grants. Well, the 10 points is already gone. It's already finished, that we're gonna try to correct our relationship with the state for next year. Okay, and we have, every concern up here says we will pay the money we owe the state. Absolutely. I just ask that recognize that these monies are hard to come by, and that if we could pay it over the course of 4 years, it would have less impact on our community. And I don't think that's unreasonable. And I would think the state would understand that. And if they won't understand that, then by golly, I understand them too. But the point is that we will take care of this. No one's here up saying that we're not gonna pay it.
Yeah, and
That's all we're gonna do.
I wasn't getting that message, but just so you're clear, that if the message came out that they were threats, they weren't. They was just, I'm trying
I
to
understand.
give you information of what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
And trying to correct the issues, and I don't want to go backwards, so that's why the information was given to you.
Absolutely.
And we are grateful for your diligence. Thank you. Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor.
Since this deals with money, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lukasevich?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Paris?
Yes.
Mayor McGuire?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, new business one, cardiac monitor replacement, Chief Krosek.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, public. Tonight we're requesting to replace our 4 cardiac monitors, which are also defibrillators. We previously had this approved through our budget approval process from council. But with the new policy, it requires a 4/5, as these will be purchased out of our capital funds, or deferred capital. If it's okay with the council, I was just gonna paraphrase and abbreviate the staff report, because it's very lengthy and technical. Essentially, our cardiac monitors are a huge key piece of life-saving equipment for the department. Our paramedics use our monitors every single day in life-saving activities. They allow us to read all of the critical vital signs. Our current monitors are pretty antiquated and old. So with this, the ones that we're requesting to update to have the latest technology, we also have a pathway of upgradability so that we can future-proof them a little bit. You know, the medical world does change rapidly, but this actually will give us a way to keep up for as long as we can. These are the new standard of care and monitors. The majority of the community and emergency medical services are moving to the Zoll X series monitors due to their capabilities, longevity, a whole host of reasons. They have by far way more features than we have currently. We currently operate LifePak model cardiac monitors. We have 2 LifePak 12s and 2 LifePak 15s. The LifePak 12s are nearly 22 years old. They were manufactured in 98 and 1999. And as of next year, roughly about a year, February 1st of 2021, the Food and Drug Administration is actually discontinuing the authorization to continue to use those monitors for medical purposes because they're so old. Even with our LifePak 15s, they're a bit newer, so they're about 5 and 6 years old. They still have very similar features to the older ones, and they take a fair amount of time to actually take vital signs. It's 12 EKGs, which are critical in diagnosing cardiac arrhythmias, getting people to the appropriate care centers, and a lot of times they will air out due to just their age and having issues and maintenance. We've had several recalls already that we have addressed with those monitors. We continue to have issues as far as sending in for maintenance, making sure we can still get supplies because they are starting to get pretty antiquated even at 5 and 6 years for those models. We're also not compatible with any of our local providers. So all of our transport providers like Call Ambulance, Mercy Air, a lot of the hospitals, all run Zoll monitors. What that means for us is that none of our equipment is compatible with each other. So the air providers, the ground ambulances, the hospitals, all running Zolls can simply unplug the sensor probe and plug it in. It takes a matter of seconds. So this is pretty critical. So now if we have a cardiac arrest, we have not only leads that we put on the chest with stickers, we have to put on defibrillator pads as well as many monitoring tools. If we do intubation where we breathe for the patient by putting a tube down into their lungs, we have some other basic things that we can do to monitor their vital signs continuously. Those things all have to be ripped out and replaced with their physical equipment. So that's a lot more time. I would say in most cases 3 to 4 times longer to move that equipment over. When we do that, we lose all of the vital sign capability to be able to monitor their vital signs, see how they're currently doing. That's a long time in cardiac arrest. One of the other aspects is Zoll has see-through technology. So this technology, when we're doing CPR, we can still see the rhythm. On our current monitors, as soon as we start doing CPR, it turns into a huge mess. We can't read it. There's nothing readable. So we have to actually stop CPR, look at the rhythm, be able to analyze it, and then decide what we're going to do. This can take anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds. That's a long time. So in terms of doing CPR, think of it as pumping up a bicycle tire with a hole in it. You can keep pumping it up with your hand, as long as you keep going, it'll stay inflated. The minute you stop, it instantly deflates. The same thing happens in your body. So as soon as you stop CPR, you take that blood pressure down. Because when you do CPR, you're getting a very small percentage. So of getting circulation to the brain and to the heart, vital organs. So when we stop, it's very detrimental. That's where we get a lot of our non-successful saves. So by doing continuous CPR, we're able to have a lot better outcomes, both short-term and long-term with CPR. Because we really only have to stop to shock people, because we can't touch them, we shock them. But everything we do revolves around getting their vital signs, providing good continuous CPR, and a lot of the medications we give are based off having on the cardiac monitors to read the rhythm to ensure appropriately. So as of right now, Zoll is basically a single source provider for giving us NPP-Gov pricing at a discount over retail. There are no other providers that provide this monitor from anywhere else. The only 3 competitors on the market that are using EMS, to my knowledge, that we've researched, were the LifePak, which doesn't meet our needs. They have nothing that's upgradable to be better, to replace ours. They have the Philips monitor, which has actually been discontinued. So their comparable model no longer exists and is no longer usable, which really leaves us with moving to Zoll to provide the best patient care. And they are willing to give us a trade-in value of $10,000 each for our LifePak 15s, and they're willing to give us a trade-in value of $1,500 each for our 12s. So in the next couple months, as of April 1st, we lose the trade-in value for the 12s. It's only $3,000, but that's still $3,000 in savings if we're able to purchase them quickly. Those are the main features, the major issues that we're having. And by replacing our fleet in its entirety now, we can maintain consistency. So if we have to operate 2 different style monitors, we have to keep training on 2 different style monitors, and proficiency with those, as well as duplicate supplies that don't interface with each other. So if we buy defibrillator pads, we buy different sensor probes, they only fit with those particular manufacturers. Whereas if we have a Zoll series monitor, if we have failure in supplies, if something goes bad, with our other agencies that we work with, they will have like supplies that we can use to interchange and make it better for the patient and better outcomes. So that's generally the gist of that without getting into all the technical details of the monitor. If there's any questions I can answer for you, please let me know.
Anybody from the audience?
Every second counts, give them what they need. The minute you lose somebody because of a bad decision on this, you'll regret it. Give them what they need. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Marie Johnson, California City. We just got here. My husband is a nurse and I worked as an EMT, and we looked at the prices, and he's exactly in line with what they are for that X-ray. I was wondering at first, because it's a lot of money for 4, but the price is correct.
Thank you. Anybody else? Coming up here.
Can I listen to some other input first before I comment?
So Chief, if I get this correctly, these monitors will plug right into Hall's equipment?
Yes, because they're the identical monitors. So both Mercier and Hall both carry those particular style monitors.
Okay, so if we gotta fly them and you've got your equipment on there, you just unplug and plug in and they're good to go.
Absolutely. One of the other things I failed to mention is these monitors have built-in communication for real-time data transmission, which we don't have currently. So we can actually send that to the hospitals. They are set up for that particular monitor. So So we can actually send, or 12 leads, we can send vital signs to an actual emergency room physician who's gonna receive that patient and get what his wishes are, or his or her wishes are for that patient, in order to better help them and maybe see something that we are unable to detect, or something that they can see, and so we can make a better decision. As well as it does interface and it will help us reduce paperwork time, because it does store a lot of information, and we can actually link our patient care reports electronically to the monitor and send information over. And we'll have a lot better, more accurate documentation of times, heart rhythms, so it'll help tremendously with just time frames.
So if I'm understanding you, if the emergency room physician sees something that has been transmitted, he can contact Mercy Air or the flight nurse and say, I need you to do this while he's still en route. They can be treating him, rather than waiting to get him to the emergency room for treatment.
Yes, and it's also a good tool to figure out if they are deteriorating or something else is developing, because they will have the initial snapshot of what we had, and then in the air, they can possibly send a new snapshot, or when they actually arrive at the facility, they will receive those different informations to make a much better diagnosis, something that maybe they would have not caught if they didn't have the initial information available to them. So, and again, time is key on that, and finding out a month later, you know, if they pull a report and download the data a month later, it does them no good to the patient when they arrive at ER.
I know that, when you and I were in the air, I was, as the pilot, I'm hearing, can we get a little faster, can we move, can we get there quicker, we're losing this patient, you know, and we did everything as fast as we could, but if we had direct contact with the emergency room physician, I think that would have even been more beneficial to us, so.
Absolutely, and a paramedic can only state so much over the radio or over a telephone call, and sometimes seeing what we're seeing in real time is a huge difference in what the ER staff can do.
I agree with you.
Anything else?
Sir?
Under any circumstances, does this equipment leave your possession?
As far as the fire department? No.
Yes. I mean, so when you're on a call, it doesn't, you would not release it and have anyone else handle it other than you?
No, the paramedics go with the equipment, so
Okay.
actually taking it out of our possession actually violates local EMS policies for the EMS agency as well as our department policies. So we would never let that go. And if we were, for instance, if Paul Ambulance had a monitor failure, which has happened before, we would not give them our monitor. We would send our paramedic with the monitoring equipment to go with them.
Okay, and in the last year, how often have you gone out with two separate crews on a medical emergency working at the same time?
It's becoming fairly regular. The crews are experiencing either back-to-back or simultaneous calls over the last couple of years, more and more often. I think we're about a 29% overlap rate. So they do constantly, we do split off fairly regularly. We have had cardiac arrests while we're on another lower call, because we cannot leave. So if we're a single vehicle, we cannot leave that call even for a cardiac arrest to go to the higher priority call until we're relieved by a transport agency, such as the ambulance company. So we have to stay. So the ability to split off with two vehicles is paramount for us to be able to serve the community.
Is there ever a circumstance where you would have to split off into 3 units?
Not necessarily on a daily basis, but when we do upstaff, so if we upstaff for, let's say, 4th of July or high weekends, high call volume weekends like in the OHV area, we will staff multiple vehicles. So we may staff the engine patrol, the Type 3 wildland engine, and also if they do go on assignment on strike teams to assist the state or other neighboring states with wildfires, we do send them as ALS equipped. So they will take that monitor with them, not only to help them, but to help their fellow firefighters if they have emergency on the way.
Thank you.
Chief, for the purchase of 4, you couldn't use the LifePak 15s as backup?
We could, the problem is that, you know, they will have to go into maintenance, and we're gonna have to carry duplicate stock of things, so we're gonna have to keep buying, because the materials do expire over time, so, you know, we can only keep a lot of those things for so many years, you know, sometimes 2 and 3 years before they have to be replaced. So we try and manage our stocks carefully to utilize them, so that we don't have a lot of excess that gets thrown away or doesn't expire. So I think in that aspect, a lot of the sensor probes are very expensive to maintain. So if it goes out, and those models are prone to having those items break often because of the poor design. So I think over time, it'll add up with costs. So we're gonna have to carry those duplicate items that can only be used for battery those 15s. The other aspect is that we have to maintain proficiency on both monitors. So if we do have to go from the Zoll monitor to a LifePak, they're very different in how they operate. The controls are different. So in the spirit of Stipend's account, having everything identically the same, especially when it comes to EMS, that's really critical to me to have like equipment. There's no confusion. Everybody's perfectly trained on that monitor. And for instance, if we use that monitor for a year straight, and we all of a sudden have to go to the LifePaks for a backup. Now we've got, you know, a paramedic who is not completely familiar with that particular monitor, who has to reorientate themselves, who's having muscle memory on that Zoll monitor. And they're now having to switch gears. And I think that will lead to possible critical errors in patient care over time. It's just, for me, that's a pretty big error and a pretty big chance to take for not doing that. And once we replace our monitors, we should be pretty solid for roughly about 10 years, give or take.
Thank you, sir. Let's say in 2 years, there's major technological changes that are made. If we buy 4 at the same time, they're gonna need to be, can these be upgraded?
These ones do have a lot of upgradability. They've really thought as well as they could and future-proof them as well as they could. But the medical world is a pretty crazy place. They have radical changes in how they do things. So, to a point, yes, based on the current trajectory of medicine. So, it's really difficult to say, but I think as far as being a smart medical company who stays in the know, they've really done their best to future-proof, as opposed to our current LifePaks, who haven't really future-proofed or thought it through, or given ways to upgrade new technology. So like, you know, if Bluetooth becomes outdated, they can replace that with something newer that'll work better. Whereas our current ones don't even have that, or even the ability to upgrade it. So that in a nutshell, it is a difficult animal to answer, but to the best of what I can tell you is yes, they're future-proofed.
If we purchase 4 now, then we're gonna be purchasing 4 down the road all at the same time. You don't see a benefit of waiting till next year to purchase 2 now, 2 then?
Like I say, we have, if you look at our current fleet, we've got ones that are 22 years old and 2 that are 6 years old. So, you know, we can make them last, and if we rotate them, take care of them appropriately, I don't think it'll be an issue. I think as long as we project appropriately with capital replacement, that won't be a problem, that we plan for that. The problem we've always had is that we haven't properly planned for the future, because there was no money, there was no really foresight. But I think, you know, if we can put a little bit of money away, over time, once we know these basic costs, then once we get close to it, we won't be in the same, you know, problem, and then we'll be prepared for that.
Just one final question for me. So Chief, if we were to purchase 2 tonight, but to plan on purchasing 2 next year, does that put our citizenry in risk?
To me, yes, because now we're operating 2 dissimilar models, and I think even though it's a low cost, I think we're throwing money away on supplies, but also I don't know what the trading value is going to be down the road, so we may lose the amount of trading value that we have now. I don't know. It just depends on the market, and even Zoll could tell me that if we wait next year, prices could go up because, you know, the cost of things keeps going up in the country due to different issues, technology costs go up. So, you know, I can only guarantee these prices now, we may be paying more next year down the road.
And then I do have one final. So there's absolutely there's no movement in this price, because if we're not going with anything else, if this is what the fire department wants as a sole source vendor, there are no other bids to take in this. You went to Zoll, and that's all that we have.
Yeah, Zoll does not resell through any other agency, outfit, store, retail, anything, which is very common for a lot of these. Even LifePack doesn't unless you buy a refurbished, outdated one, or, you know, kind of like a Canoe for some, those outfits. So that really is the only source. And also, if you look at the pricing, there is retail pricing, but they have given us a discounted pricing based off the NPP Gov, because we are, as a fire department, a member of NPP.gov, so we get their pricing for that. So we've actually got a better price than most people will for other agencies like Hall Ambulance or you know, hospitals, if they're not on that same NPP.gov pricing schedule.
Thank you, sir.
With that, looking for a motion to approve. I'll make that motion to approve all four. For a second. I'll make that motion that we approve, to get all four for a total cost of $160,076.16. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lisanovich,
No.
Smith,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Mayor McGuire,
Yes.
motion fails.
Mr. Mayor,
Sir.
can we make a motion to purchase 2 of the 4?
They need some new equipment, so I'm willing to flex it.
Second that motion.
So let's do a recount on this. Let's have some discussion. You know, Councilman Lisanovich, you're a doctor. Dennis, I've been in emergency medical care, I've been flying, I've been doing all of this with the fire department. Our mayor's the same way, we've been out on the streets. You know, you want to tie their hands, and I realize we do have a fiscal crisis here, but the life of one person is not worth the entire price we're putting right here, and we're cutting the price in half and giving them 2 and say make do. I, for one, am not willing to lose a single person in this city because we don't want to give them the extra equipment to do the job properly. So if that's the way you feel, and obviously you voted that way, I feel you're wrong. And, you know, the life of one single person is not worth the money that we're saving here. So with that in mind, let's continue with our vote.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like a second call, please. Good evening again, DJ Tuig. I am a director at Kern Tax, sit on tax advocacy boards. We look at jurisdictions and analyze multiple departments, cost of service, etc. One thing I'd like to bring your attention to is the fact that this fund, the Fire Department Deferred Capital Fund, I'm told, one derivative is the parcel tax. And so for many years, we brought testimony arguing that a parcel tax is not intended to be designed for personnel. What it could be used for is facilities, equipment, apparatus, etc. If it gives you any relief at all, this is the more appropriate, perhaps best appropriate use of parcel tax funds. And so if it gives you any relief, I do value greatly that there's an acknowledgement from your chief saying that the department has not properly planned in the past with respect to depreciation and equipment. That's an acknowledgement that we can improve. I'm asking this council, moving forward, that that become part of our vision for the city, is to depreciate our assets, depreciate our equipment, our budgets, so we don't have these surprises decade after decade, year after year. I would ask that you would support the purchase of these four, and I would ask that in your budget meetings that you look at your depreciation schedules for your apparatus and your equipment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Lloyd Johnson, California City. As somebody who's worked in this, in the healthcare field for over 50 years or so, I kind of wonder, I say, what price do we put on human life? I see people making books about them using old equipment, and I've been out in the field actually and tried to use old equipment, and I know Zoll is expensive, and Zoll is a one source, but Zoll is the gold standard, and everybody uses Zoll, from medical facilities to the military to even the prison system. I don't know what ambulance service doesn't use Zoll. Zoll is expensive, granted, yes, but like I say, what price do you put on human life?
Thank you, sir.
So far again. I'm curious if we only get two and we use the two older versions for backup and a choice has to be made, say there's multiple victims, and a choice has to be made, which victim gets which apparatus or which equipment, I don't know what you would refer to it as. Is there any liability there if we lose the one that was on the old equipment? We don't want to expose the city to liability either. Just something to think about.
Okay, well, we have a motion that's been first and seconded. And so let's go with that vote.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I made the motion. The difference between having 4 and having 3, what is the, how many times would there be 4 vehicles running out there?
Not on a regular basis, but typically, so assuming that if we go on a while deployment, so if we send one of our engines out of deployment, whether it be the patrol, the Type 3, the Type 1 engine, basically the small one and the medium-sized one and the big one, we will be left with 2 monitors in-house. So if we have a damaged monitor while they are going out of deployment, then now we are down to just 1 monitor. So the 4th one would probably be with me because I can respond as a backup paramedic. But in that case, we'd only have 1, so then we wouldn't have the ability to go on simultaneous calls. We would have to downstaff because unless we are fully outfitted as a paramedic unit, we cannot be a paramedic unit. So even though we may have paramedics, that means we have to take all the drugs off, all the life-saving equipment, and go down to basic life support, which is bandages and oxygen and a few of those various little things. So we really take our service level down, which is the whole rationale for having 4 monitors, is that we assume that we are going to send people on deployments or on other assistance missions. So like in the Ridgecrest earthquake, we sent our engine out there because they needed help. And we provided triage for the hospital because we are the only fire department-based paramedic unit that was trained in incident command. They could reliably work within that system to triage and evacuate those people out of the hospital. So when you look at those situations, and we'll call people back to staff other units, we will have the appropriate level all the time. It is true, it's not going to happen all the time. It may happen a couple times a year, but during those critical periods, we need all 4. But we do have to send them back for maintenance periodically. So if we send back 1 monitor for maintenance, if we do it 1 at a time, we run into the same issue. If we break the monitor, something happens catastrophic, we may be short a paramedic unit that on the staff.
Well, I don't think it was, I don't think it is, and I'm not trying to argue, but I don't think it's fair to direct anything towards, Councilman Lucinovich being a doctor. I'm a pastor. I repeatedly state that there is no price tag that can be placed on a single solitary eternal soul. So I don't think it's fair to single out Councilman Lucinovich in this. I hate to see us replacing 4 at the same time down the road. Yes, sir.
So, as it is currently, we don't necessarily have to replace 4 at the same time. Now, as in most cases, because some will be used less seldom, they may be in better shape currently like we have now, we can stagger those purchases if we need to. So we can buy, later down the road, we can plan to buy one, then we can buy the next, to replace them sequentially as we need to. That way we can rotate one, because it wouldn't be advisable to actually send in all 4 at one time for me. So we can stagger that out if that's something that's of concern. That's something we had planned for, because I really don't want to buy 4 monitors in the future. I want to buy one, next year buy another one, replace them sequentially, and maybe have a period of time in between there, so they may be spread out for another 2 years, depending on how well they last and the longevity and what they're subjected to. So in that instance, I don't think that's something you have to worry about, because that's part of our capital replacement plan, is that even if we had 2 brand new fire engines today, one is a reserve, one is a frontline, I don't want to buy 2 at the same time. I want to spread those things out over our budget so we can make the best use of our budget in the future. Because if this fire department happens to grow, we're going to have more pieces of equipment to worry about. So it's even more critical that we have a capital replacement plan that is logical, that shows the depreciation, that shows the timeline, and then so there's no surprises. And all you have to worry about is catastrophic losses. So if the monitor happens to get run over by accident or something, some catastrophic deal with those, then we're prepared for that with a logical plan for the future that's long-term, which is my vision for the department, is long-term planning. So it doesn't make sense to me to replace a huge item like that.
I have a question, just for clarity, you mean you're saying replace the 4 and then stagger replacement of those, or you're going
in the
back?
future, yeah. So if we buy all 4 now, the key is, the reason why we're buying 4 now is so that we can train properly, be proficient on 1, and not have to worry about being proficient on 2 and having patient care errors, which again could actually be a liability for the department and the medic themselves, which we like to eliminate as much as humanly possible. We're here to help the public, we're here to make sure that they're safe, and if we're taking as best care as we possibly can. I think having 2 separate ones doesn't accomplish that if we have to use this monitors, because we lose a lot of the features. They have many more features than we have now. Like, we don't have the see-through technology, so if we have to do CPR on somebody trying to revive them, we lose all those advantages of having that monitor if we have to switch to that. So our plan is to replace logically, sequentially over time, not in big groups. This is a problem that we're addressing now, so that we don't have these problems in the future. So we may replace one in 8 years, and then replace the next one in 10. And like for example, our LifePak 12s, they are 22 years old. So we haven't replaced those ones yet, even though they should have been. So this is our attempt to fix these long-standing issues, the way we do business, for how we purchase equipment, how we plan for future equipment with that plan. And this is just to start, because this is the Band-Aid. But from here on out, we plan on having that logical plan. We're not putting huge amounts of money at one time, because nobody wants to do this with these huge expenditures every single time.
Well, I don't think it's fair for Councilman Lucinovich to be hung out there when I also voted no. I'm willing to return to the 4.
Now, this is a money issue, and the truth of the matter is, these 4 units aren't there right now, and they're saying that they can't do their job with what they have now?
Right.
Is that what I was just told? That they're not capable of delivering the service that we're paying for with what we have in-house right this moment?
Yes.
What we're talking about doing is making sure that the frontline team, when it goes out, that can be 2 units, we have 4 men per shift, so that's two separate incident teams, has this brand new equipment. If one of them goes down, they go to a backup, all right, backup's an older unit, but most of these companies, when you send something in to be repaired, will give you a loaner, and, okay, so,
It'll be at a cost.
so's buying it now and in 5 years wanting to replace it. You have supposedly you have units now that are functioning appropriately. So you want to get Cadillac monitors. I'm not against that at all. I'm just saying is that if you phase the implementation over a couple years, then that cost is you know, if you're replacing a 21-year-old unit, all right, replace those. That's appropriate. You're spending money now as if you don't need to worry about it in the future. I'm concerned about what we're going to have left for your program later. If we're not concerned.
I guess my question is, during the special tax time, with the funding available to us is, if we buy 2 this year, we buy 3 in 2 years or next year, it's still in our deferred capital, so it's not going to, other than delaying the implementation, in my thinking, I don't see how that changes anything financially for the department. It's still something that's gonna be a need for 2 monitors in the future, and while we have the funding, is the time to replace these critical items so that as we come to the close of this special tax, that we concentrate more on retaining personnel and less on replacing critical infrastructure for the department. My goal is to replace that infrastructure now before the special tax is up, so that we don't have big glaring issues in the future when and if the special tax goes away or is reduced to something else, so that we can concentrate on maintaining our personnel.
Well, I'd like to see the purchase of these staggered, return to this next year for 2, replace the 22-year-old ones, the 14 and the 15. I realize they don't, they're not what you want, but I hope we'll pass the 2.
So, we got a motion on the floor, correct, Madam Clerk? To purchase 2. So let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Lucinovich.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Paris.
Yes.
Mayor McGuire.
Yes,
I
would like to see them all 4, but 2 is better than 0.
Motion carried for 2.
I also just wanted to point out that the pricing on that, so the pricing indicated was for 4. Being that we're trading in the 212, so we're only getting $3,000 of trading credit.
Thank you. Okay, and that's, all right, MB2, electronic lock for police building. Locks.
Bill, how you doing?
How you feeling?
$1 million. See how this goes. So, here today to talk about some upgrades for some security issues regarding our police building. As you guys may or may not know, the building was built in 1993, so it's obviously due for some security upgrades. So we have 7 doors that are main entry and exit points, in addition to doors that lead into more secure areas of the building. Some of those areas, only certain personnel are allowed access into for various reasons. Currently, the locking mechanisms on these doors are severely outdated. They're so outdated that we can no longer purchase replacement parts or even change the codes, which you can't change the code. That presents major security issues. So typically when an employee separates from employment, we change the codes to the doors so that we control who has access into the building, in addition to the obviously stated safety concerns. With this new system that I'm looking at proposing, we would be able to remotely disable access into the building, which we currently cannot do. So currently we have an older system that is, it's a combination of cards and key fobs in addition to push button electronic locks. So currently, I can't just go into a computer-based program and say, I'm gonna disable Chief Walker from being allowed into dispatch. In order for me to discontinue his access into dispatch, I would physically have to take his fob, reprogram it, and then get it back. With this new program, or the new locking system, that's something that we'd be able to do remotely. So we can shut anybody down at any given time, we can grant access at any given time. And so it makes it a much more secure, much more viable system for us. In the event that we lose a fob currently, I can't discontinue that fob. Like I said, in order to discontinue it or to deactivate it, you actually have to possess it. So that presents huge issues for us at the moment. We haven't been able to change our door codes in several years, and this presents a lot of issues, not only for myself, but the other employees that are in the building and those that are not armed. So what I've reached out to 3 different agencies or companies. One of them is in Ridgecrest. It's called A to Z Lock and Security. They've come in with a low bid at $21,946 and 53 cents. The next 2 were a couple $1,000 more. I've since reached out back to the company that I got the original quote from, asked them about warranty work. So their product is warranted for 1 full year. All their parts and labor, is actually warranted for 90 days if it's something that they determine is their fault. If it's our fault, whether it be misuse or vandalism, obviously that's on us. But the system itself is actually warranted for 1 year. So attached to the staff report, you're going to see a little bit of information on the lock itself. So with this new system, again, you can go into any computer as long as that program is on there. You can designate who your admins are. You can designate who has access to what doors. You can see what doors that they're going into or they're trying to go into. And then if you really want to get super security with it, you can either do push button numbers combo, or you can do a key fob, or if you really want the extra security, you can do both. So you would need a key fob and a security pin to actually access that door. So that would be up to the administrator and to the specific doors that we're trying to do. So again, we have 7 doors that we're trying to do. That'll be the front, the back, kitchen, the door to records, the door to archives, and the door to the armory. Is there any questions before we continue further?
I've got one. Who's going to be the administrative person for this, and who's going to be the backup?
That would be the determination of Chief Walker.
So it's just going to be 2 people basically, and that's it?
I would imagine, yeah. That would be smart.
Thank you.
Well, first, Lieutenant Hightower, thank you for the diligence and the 3 bids. I was looking through here, any type of warranty in this stuff? Seems pretty technical.
Yeah, as stated earlier, the first year is warranted. So all the equipment is warranted for 1 year. All the parts and install is actually labor warranty for 90 days. So if it comes out that it's a faulty part or faulty work on the part of the vendor, then that gets replaced at no cost. However, if it turns turns around and they find that we caused the damage, vandalized it, or just misused it, then that actually has to come out of our pocket. But for the most part, the entire system is warranted for 1 year.
With the sensitive nature of this, pretty obvious, pretty technologically advanced, is there any potential of getting a longer warranty, purchasing that?
That's something I'll have to look into. So first thing in the morning, I'll call Abel, is his name, in Ridgecrest, and I'll find out if they offer an extended warranty service.
I mean, after the events in the Bronx this week, kind of hard to not want to have our PD secure. So, thank you, sir.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, just the vulnerability that we're trying to overcome right now to make everybody feel safe in their work environment. Like Reverend Smith said, the events that happened in New York, that doesn't make any of us sit easy.
We'll be looking at time frame, if this is approved.
So if I recall correctly, they should have it good to go within 60 days from time of approval.
Anybody from the public have any questions in reference to this? Seeing none coming up here. Okay. Then we're bringing it back up here, looking for a motion to approve. This will be for the city manager to sign a contract with A to Z Lock and Security in the amount of $21,946.53 from funding source 18-4212-636. And there is a current balance in that fund right now of $27,255.65.
Motion to approve with the request to attempt to get a longer warranty. You have the funds in that account up to $1,500 to try to get a longer warranty because of the sensitive nature.
Got a first, looking for a second.
I'll second that motion.
Madam Clerk?
Councilman Bosanovich,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Paris,
Yes.
Mayor McGuire,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Fence at well 14, Public Works Director Bergen.
Thank you, Mayor. The fence at well 14 needs to be replaced. The west side is old wooden fencing, and it's really frail, weak. The fence on the north side is a chain link fence that has been damaged to the point where it's not even barely standing up. Staff received 3 quotes for the repairs: Fence Masters, Fencing by George, and Marriott Fencing. City Council staff recommends City Council authorize City Manager to sign a contract with Fence Masters to install a new fence at a cost of $9,576. The funds will be taken out of the Water Enterprise Fund, the deferred capital account.
Questions? It's coming out of, which fund is it coming out of?
It's out of the deferred capital fund for the Water Enterprise Fund. The number's gonna change with the audits, but there's over $3 million in there for the last.
What's the current account number so we have something to look at?
It's not an account number, it's just deferred capital. This is also another item that was brought forth for the budget meetings, and council asked that we take all these out and put them aside and then bring them back to be taken out of the deferred capital account out of the water funds.
So since this is coming out of a deferred capital, is it gonna be 4/5? Is it gonna be required? Okay, all right. Anybody from the public have anything in reference to this?
from Creighton, California City. Is this a prevailing wage job? Okay. I don't know if they all bid that. But anyway, looking at the 3 bids, none of the bidders specify the gauge of the fencing to be used. I'm assuming it's 9 gauge, but what's out there is not 9 gauge. So I don't, if they're going off existing, that price may increase. Also in the bids, Fence Masters does not specify the line pole size. Fencing by George states a 1 7/8 line pole. Marriott Fencing states a 2 3/8 line pole. Marriott also upsized the corner and gate poles to 2 5/8. Now the benefit to the larger size poles, when you put the privacy slats in, it stands up to the wind better. We had to re-engineer an entire compound fence when I was working on Edwards because of that. With the prevailing winds over 80, 90 miles an hour, it'll bend most of small line poles. But anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Coming back up here, sir.
Mr. Berrigan, are you, with hearing that, are you confident in what Fence Masters has presented?
I would rather go with Marriott based off of that. It's just, I know how we want to be fruitful and go with the lowest bidder, but yeah, I would prefer to go with Marriott because they will do thicker poles and do a better job from it.
So Marriott Fencing, their primary function is state and federal facilities. I used to be in the fence business as a contractor, and everything I see here is all commercial grade. What I see for Fence Masters is he doesn't really tell us anything as to the quality. We've got a 1 5/8 top rail, 7 gauge spring bottom wire, but nothing about line posts, corner posts, or gaugeable wire. I agree with Mr. Berrigan that even though it's a far greater expense, we are going to be getting a fence that will withstand the winds out here, and we won't have any issues with it whatsoever. With Fence Masters, it's an unknown. We may not. Fencing by George, you see all posts to be, I'm not sure if it's SEC 40, 1 5/8. Again, we get what we pay for when it comes to quality, I've seen Marriott throughout the federal government, all the state prisons, and you don't see his product failing at all. So, again, we usually go to the lowest, but if we have the money available, I can see that we shouldn't have any issues at all with the type of fence that Marriott would be putting in.
Anybody from the public in this? Anybody else? Because we're gonna bring it back up here. Sir?
No comment, sir.
Sir? So, then we'd be looking for a motion to approve this with Marriott Fencing Construction, Inc. In the amount of $16,620.
I'll make that motion.
Got a first, looking for a second.
I'll second that motion.
Got a first and a second. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Lucinovich,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Garris,
Yes.
Mayor McGuire.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And Mr. Berrigan, sir, you're up for MB4 on the plate valve rebuilds.
Thank you, Mayor. A little bit of background, different size clay valves are used in a city water system to essentially optimize our pressure. These clay valves should be rebuilt every 3 years. The valves that are proprietary, we can only have one company rebuild them. Staff has requested a quote to have 14 clay valves rebuilt. They quoted for $50,237. We just had one rebuilt today. That was the issue today for all the clogs. One of our reducing our clay valves that reduces the pressure on the west side of town on Pompey and Yerba was frozen open because it hasn't been rebuilt since it was put in, and it allowed too much water into our system, raised the pressure. Obviously, with our failing pipes, we weren't able to maintain the pressure, and that's why we kept on having blow-offs after blow-offs after blow-offs. As we fix one, we get another one. So today's example is exactly why things like this need to be done. We need to maintain our system best we can. Staff is asking the city council authorize city manager to sign a contract with clay valve to rebuild what would now be 13 valves. We have one times a day on emergency at a cost of under $15,237. And once again, this will come out of the water enterprise fund for the capital. This is once again another item that was brought for the budget meetings, but was taken out and put in aside so we could bring it to council and have it come out of a deferred account.
So what's total gonna be then for?
It'll be under 50,000. I'm sure the valve that got fixed today was gonna cost more than how we did in the package, because now they have to come out. Just for that valve, it was done after hours on emergency, but the other 13 will be less than 50,237, obviously.
So we had them come out today and rebuild one on site?
Yes, we have them out.
And did they give us a price on that, a cost?
No, it'll come later. It'll be T&M.
Emergency.
Yeah.
Anybody from the public? Bringing it up here, sir.
Seems like a pretty easy one after last night.
Is that a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
Councilmember Lizinovich,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Mayor McGuire.
Yes.
Motion carried.
MB5, 400 amp switchgear at par 3. Mr. Berrigan, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a switch here at the par 3 on the, just north of CCB, back of where the baseball fields are. That 277/480 switch gear feeds the transformer that feeds the switch gear that feeds all the Little League, the lights, and so forth. That switch gear is very old. It's been deteriorating. It's been, the bottom is completely rusted out. About a year ago, we actually had issues with it because rodents are now able to get in there because of all the holes, and they ate up some wires. We had actually got some quotes last year to get this replaced, and we put it on the back burner because it was taking out the budget as well. But I got a call from Southern California Edison, and they wanted it replaced immediately, or they're going to shut the power off to it. I asked them to give us a little more time so I could bring it to council and get it fixed. So we received 3 quotes just for the switchgear. We can do this in-house with staff. And we got the switchgear would be around $8,000. And then we estimate that there's gonna be some material involved as far as PVC, fittings, things like that. We're gonna the new one will be put on a concrete foundation if approved by council. The total cost will not exceed $15,787. I also put in there what we estimate staff labor hours would be and the cost. Once again, this is something that would have to come out of the general reserves. It's not a water thing, so it'll take 4 votes. I just can't emphasize enough how much of an emergency this is. I'm concerned that it could fall over since it's so rotted out on the backside, and then it would lose its bonding and it could become energized, and then somebody could walk up to it, a child or adult, touch it, get electrocuted. Like I said, it's 277/480, so it's a little bit higher than your household electrical.
Any questions? Anybody from the public?
again. Better do it. I can't take a chance on somebody getting electrocuted. That would be preposterous to roll the dice on something like that. Gotta do it.
Council and Mayor, Todd Broussard, Cal City Little League President. We're definitely going to need power to have a baseball season. Power is the lights, our snack bar, all of that. My recommendation is to move forward and replace this. I knew a couple of years ago that it needed to be replaced when I had talked to Joe, so, I mean, this isn't something that can be delayed. Baseball is getting ready to start here in about a month. We'll have opening ceremony, so I would love to have power out there for the lights and all the other stuff that baseball requires. So, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Bringing it back up here.
Well, it's definitely an issue. My question is, as Mr. Broussard said, known for a couple of years that this is an issue. Well, why general fund reserves? Why not out of parks? Why not out of public works? Why does it have to go right to general fund reserves? We are in hurting status financially.
It was not budgeted for in the parks. It was pulled out, so that's what all the deferred capitals put. The general fund items.
Mrs. Lynn, is there money in the parks?
For this project?
Is there money in parks? I think when drastic times call for drastic solutions, we need to save every single penny we have that are in reserves. We've seen how on Friday how much it has dwindled, and if we can take out of parks, it's a parks issue. Par 3 golf course is the job name. If we can take out of parks, we need to take out of parks.
You know, Mr. Councilman, fireworks or Little League playing for the year. If this is an emergency, it's maybe a more critical emergency than a fireworks show.
Yep.
That gets you close. So I think
Parks and Rec, how much do we have for the fireworks right now?
That was put into reserves as well, gentlemen, and she was gonna have to come back and ask for it. There was nothing left, for any extras without coming back for a fourth this vote.
Can I speak again? I'm on the Parks and Recs Commission as well, and pretty much everything that we requested was axed out of the budget to be brought back to city council on a case-by-case basis. So Parks budget was pretty much eliminated for any additional expenditures. I mean, fencing, the reason the whole Little League thing started is we requested some money just to repair some obsolete fence, and it was taken out of the budget. And I came to the budget meeting, and said, well, we're not saying you can't have it. We're just saying that everything parks related needs to be brought back to city council for an individual vote. So I'm pretty certain that Parks does not have the money to do this. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Well, saves that problem about worrying about the fireworks, huh?
If the public was here on Friday and seeing what we're seeing and the trajectory of how we're over budget now, this needs to be done. But to take out of general fund reserves, there's got to be parks and there's got to be some funds in parks. Whether it's staffing, there's got to be funds that are available there, or public works. There has to be something. Or we will reserve ourselves out of reserve.
Yeah. And if we cut a staff member for that, it's still gonna be a process. It has to come to video review to cut them for cause or for not. So, and this needs ordered now. So
So there's no room in Public Works to take out these funds
From facilities?
from somewhere, Public Works, somewhere that we don't have to immediately go to the reserves.
So you have to come out of facilities, and there's, no, once again, we brought several projects forward at the budget meetings that we needed to get done through facilities. This was one of them, and it was all taken out in order to, you know, there wasn't any bills. So we didn't do that. We didn't budget for this, so there's no line item with money in it for this. The facilities is, it's already a small amount of the general fund. It's not like we have it.
There's gonna come a point that we aren't gonna have any more money in reserves, and our city's gonna be bankrupt. We are living on basically, we just rounded off to 7 million above our means. There's only so much that we can do. We had a very hard decision on the Zoll monitors tonight. This is looked upon as being an emergency issue. We've known about this for a couple of years. Something has to be freed up in our budget without immediately going to general reserves. There's gotta be something that we can pull this from.
And then just Councilman Smith, we recognize that we are in a crisis financially, and that is why we are doing it with staff and trying to do it as cheap as possible. We're working with Edison. They normally charge a fee for everything they're gonna do on our side. They're gonna try to keep it to a minimum. You know, they had to give us a figure to bring to you, which I believe was 3,000. It was in my staff report, but we're gonna work with them, try to get that lowered. See if there's any kind of credits, anything we can get. Staff is diligently working to try to do it as cheap as possible, and it's only being brought to council because it is seen as an emergency. And Edison is ready to shut it off if we don't fix it. That's the directive they gave us. We're ready to shut this thing down. They consider it unsafe. They're not gonna ask or wait for us. I just said, hey, it's been in the works. We've known about it for a couple of years. Give me a chance to bring it to council, see if they're willing to buy a new switchgear so staff can get put in place. And then they said, okay, we'll give you that little bit of time, but they're ready to shut it down.
Mayor, Councilman, in Fund 10-4161-270, Building Operation Maintenance, there's $22,096.52 in there. It can come from there, but we're gonna eventually have to come back for something else though, to cover this budgeted item, but we do have it there right now.
I would make the motion that we take it from that fund.
So what's the fund number again?
10-4161-270, Building Operation Maintenance. There's $22,096.52 in there.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, got a first
What
and a
was
second.
that money for, Joe?
That money, that's the only two items that were allowed to be put in the budget. One of those is gonna be, we need to build some type of lactating room to meet state laws. So that was gonna go for that, and also we need to replace the flooring in City Hall that has asbestos and the mastic. So that, we were hoping those two things would get covered. That's what that was put in the budget for. And that's why I didn't go out of that fund for this. So we can pay it out of that fund for now, but just, I mean, probably in the next, second meeting in March or something, we're gonna bring a staff report to have a company abate all the flooring in the kitchen, the hallway coming in, and the supply room, because they have asbestos in it. And then we were trying to get a lactating room built to satisfy state regulations.
The mayor's office.
I'll be presenting cuts of the mid-year review anyway, so I'll keep that in mind.
We're spending a lot of money tonight before the mid-year budget review. And this is an emergency. If there's funds in 10-4161, that would be the motion to take it out of that. It's been seconded. But at mid-year budget review, our city's in financially hurting status and gonna have to take some very serious hard looks at the mid-year budget review. We talked about the word crisis probably 30 times on Friday, and some would share that word crisis, others did not, but whether you wanna say we're in a crisis, we're in a financial crisis. And, we need to operate that way.
Okay, there's first and a second. Anybody else have any comments on this up here? Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Lucinovich.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Parrish.
Yes.
Mayor McGuire.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. NB6, Order of Council Meetings. City Manager Lynn, Councilman.
Mayor and City Council, public. On January 28th, 2020, Councilman Smith asked that we discuss the order of the council meetings and discuss moving public comment back to the beginning of the meeting. It was also recommended that the council discuss verbal staff reports and updates versus written ones. Recommendation is that the council discuss and give definite direction to continue with current approved order or for council meetings, or establish a new order for council meetings. Attached is a current approved order for council meetings. There is no fiscal impact.
Thank you, Mrs. Lynn. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I know that not everyone's probably is going to agree with this up there, but I know at the end of the meeting, when we were waiting for public comment with all the decisions that were made tonight, I know I'm not really as sharp as listening that I would be as at the beginning. Today it was a great presentation that we had on regards to 172 people. I'm glad for taking the time to give them. 172 people are about to be very happy in our community. What's it?
224.
Well, they said only 172 would qualify from their area. Because of where they have it. At least that's the number that I recall. So, but that's incredible. So it was worth our time to sit and smile and to thank them. But I'm one that I like to hear, well, I don't always like to hear from citizens when they're not saying mean things. But I think it's the right that we have in America to be able to hear that. I think it's 8:20. This is a long meeting for us with all that we've done. An incredibly long meeting for us, which is a short meeting from when this was proposed months ago to change the order to speed things up. If our department heads, if you don't believe they should be here, there's nothing for them, then I understand they're not being here. But if they're here, I'd like to be able to get an oral report from our directors. I think it helps. It gives us an opportunity to exchange conversation, to ask them questions. Appreciate your report. So I'm just asking that if they're here, that they have an opportunity for an oral report, that we can have some kind of, I don't want to say banter, but for lack of a better term, how about conversation with our department, if they're here, and then with you as well. And I would just ask my fellow council members to give it a shot, putting public comment back at the beginning. And I think that I think it's been very rare that we've had citizens that have pushed the time limit. But I think it would be very beneficial for our community. So that would be my request.
So to be clear, not mandatory oral reports, just if they want to say anything beyond their written staff report, give them the opportunity?
I think so. Quite frankly, I think that all of our department heads that are here, Mr. Cooper has a incredibly important job. If he would like to be able to, while he's here, to be able to share something, if he doesn't want to, doesn't have to, but I'm glad that he is here to be available for questions. I don't think it has to be mandatory, but if they're here, I think it would be, if Chief Kosick is here, if he only takes, 2 minutes to say something, I think it's important.
But everybody else gets 3 minutes.
Well, I'm just,
For sake of argument.
3 minutes. I think our department heads, if they have something to say more than 3 minutes that is valuable, then they should have the opportunity to say what they want to say. If they have something they need to brief us on. But I think it would be beneficial, and if council would consider putting the public comment at the beginning. We haven't seen anything in months where we've had long meetings or had something that set things off on a bad tone at the beginning. So,
Just to speak to the staff being able to do that, I think having that be mandatory is good. Giving them the opportunity is also good, because the one good thing that came out of Friday, besides a clear understanding, staff all appreciated the fact that they were having a conversation with you guys. And there's a lot of feedback going back and forth, so I think staff would appreciate the opportunity.
I think we can disagree and still be friends. Maybe not, but I think we can. I think we can fight nice, and but I think it's important that the give and take is vital. And
Mayor and Council, the council certainly has discretion to set the procedure being followed. I just want to give the caution that full-on discussions do need to be agendized with a description so the public knows what's being discussed. Director's reports, not an issue. Even brief questions, clarifying those reports, just with the caution that if that's going to prompt in a full-on discussion over something that's being raised, that actually does need to be agendized as an item. But that would be the opportunity to say, hey, let's agendize this. This is important, we need to discuss it. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation.
thank you, sir.
You know, when this was brought forward, one of the problems that we had on the meetings is that we've had people that have attended these meetings that were not from the city, but had business to deal with the city, and they sat around the entire time waiting for their turn. And it's a little unfair for them. The philosophy behind this was very, very simple. If it's not continued business, new business, or public hearing, or authorizing spending, that's what this council meeting is about. Because if you don't have those items on the council meeting, on the agenda, you don't have a council meeting. And so when I make the statement, it's taking care of city business, it's that type of city business that has the priority over all the rest of the city business. And so that's why that was done. Give the continued business and new business and the public hearings first crack at it. That's what that was about.
Things change. And when they change, we go back to the old way. I think it's time to bring public business from the floor early in the meeting. It's time. I think we our relationship with the community has changed enough to where the contention that came before, that we were trying to quiet, isn't going to impact us as much. I think it's time to change the balance.
It's up to the council. Oh, come on up.
Hi, Johnson. I was at the same meeting you were both at, where that was actually a recommendation by the League of California Cities, because they stressed that public business, the business of the council, is the business first. Public business is what comes at the end. I'm willing to sit here until midnight, however long it takes for me to say what I need to say. That's the opportunity that we have as citizens. This, moving the public comment will make things run much later, and if you're vested in what's happening at the meetings, and if you're really interested in what's going on, you'll stay to the end and say what you have to say. So, I just want to remind you, it was put out there by the League of California Cities, and that was the recommendation to follow the order that you presently have in place.
Thank you.
Good evening again, DJ Tuhig. Thank you, Mayor, for having us, and Mr. Smith for having us on the agenda. Again, I agree with Councilman Nick. I think it's time to bring the public comments at the beginning. In fact, we made the recommendation last year, if you recall, that it should be at the beginning. I can tell you from personal experience, there have been times I thought that I had something of substance to share with you. Of course, I think that more often than not. But a couple of times I thought it was really important. And it really seemed like you guys had already faded out. And so I made mention this last year. There was a comment about the city's business and how important the departments are and the action items. And of course, businesses coming to town want to be heard as well. But keep in mind that the public is part of the city's business. And so we're not giving up anything by letting them go first. They're the fabric of this community, the public. And in fact, your council works for the public. So keep that in mind. You work for the taxpayers and you work for the public. The last thing I'd like to mention to you is that in the last, 50 plus years, this council still can improve in terms of responding to the public. When the public has questions. And there's been a time where you've directed staff to make responses, but it's still weak. There still needs to be a better responsiveness to your taxpayers and your citizens responding to their questions. For example, tonight I asked a question, there wasn't even a response. And it would have seemed appropriate to ask staff, whether it be Public Works or City Manager, to come up with a response, what's going in the RFQ, as it relates to the subject matter you had many, many years here, which is the water standby fee. So there's a lot in that policy that's a separate agenda item. But with respect to public comments, I think that there's been a positive relationship between the public and the council that continues to bring forth policy ideas. There's a couple of people in this chambers routinely that have brought many, many policy recommendations that have substance. And this council and this community has really benefited, in my opinion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Run, Silver, run.
Now. Silver car. I agree with Dr. Nick and Pastor Ron. And I believe that the public comment needs to be put back the way it was before. We no longer have the, shall I say, the environment that we had before. There are not so many people coming from out of town that need to have their business addressed. Take the ladies from SCE earlier today, they weren't on the agenda, but they got to do their thing first. We can always make exceptions, you know, just like we allowed them a little extra time besides just 3 minutes for their announcement. Exceptions can always be made, but I think the rule needs to go back to the old way rather than the way it is now, because while there are many of us who are willing to and able to stay as late as it needs to be, there's people that have children, jobs, you know, it doesn't, they could stay later, but their lives outside of what their intention for the meeting was would suffer. According to the Brown Act, its entire purpose is to ensure that all council business, city business is done openly and publicly, and that includes giving the public the opportunity to have input. And when you take away, I'm not saying they didn't have the opportunity, but the ability, you know, for some people that aren't like me, I'm retired, I can stay as late as I want to, and I don't have anybody to take care of it at home. But there's so many people that have a right to input and they're losing it, I think, and we no longer have that toxic environment that we had before, and we don't have so many people, like I said, I'm being redundant now, coming from out of town that need to go first because they have to drive somewhere. Again, exceptions can be made, but I really believe that we need to go back to the old way. At least give it a try. You know, I don't think it's gonna be disruptive like it used to be. We don't have that environment anymore. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
From Creighton, California City. So if I heard Councilman Smith right, public business being at the end, you're not as sharp as you were at the beginning of the meeting. So reverse that, have public business at the beginning of the meeting, you're not as sharp doing city business. Just a thought. Anyway, a while back, you all agreed that when you want to agendize an item, you would provide staff something to put on paper so that we can look at it. There's 4 items on here, 4 new business items on here that we didn't have anything to look at, anything to formulate questions or comments on. So we're all sitting in our seats scrambling to say something, if we want to say something. And to be honest, I'm not tied one way or the other to where you put public business. I'm just as sharp starting as I am ending. And I prefer to read the staff reports. When we used to get them verbally, we didn't get everything. The staff reports being printed that we can read online are much more detailed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Coming back up here. You know, I agree with the written, it gives you time to digest it and go over it. And to me, it generates questions, so I like reading. That way I can write my notes down to them, and then I can then I usually go through the CM and say, man, can I go talk to whatever department head? She goes, yes. Then I go on with my rack hill and take care of business that way. So I like the written thing. It's gonna be up to the council what they want. Bottom line. It's, we're a democracy, not a dictatorship.
No matter what, they're gonna be written like they are now.
It makes it really nice.
They want to speak beyond that.
Yeah.
To their staff report, so
Yes.
it's agendized and they can.
So I think that it's, you know, as a department head, we can definitely always continue with the written reports, because I think they're valuable. But I know a lot of the public doesn't want to hear, you know, probably be droned on line after line from stat for stat. But we can give the highlights and maybe the exciting stuff and some positives, or maybe some challenges verbally, and if there are questions from the public or the staff on our statistics, you know, that are in detail, you know, we're happy to address all of those.
Thank you, sir. So, what is the druthers for the council? What to do for the meetings? Go back to where we were? I think we ought to go back to where we were. Yep.
It's gonna be a 3-1 vote, but I'll join in and just say if that's what the council wants, then let's go back. And we'll go from there. Vote on it. It's
Procedural, yeah. It's just do we need to vote, or it's just it's dealing with the administrative portion?
Okay.
If I could just say this, with not casting any aspersion on anyone else, I do want to commend you. You're living in a different era than we've had a lot of major decisions in the past. But I appreciate the fact that you show us all respect up here. You show our citizens respect. And So, I'm not trying to, you're the one chairing the meetings, and I wanna thank you for the way that you chair them. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, NB7, overtime freeze. City Manager Lynn and Councilmember Smith.
Okay, on January 28th, sorry, Mayor, Councilman, public, on January 28th, 2020, Councilman Smith asked that we freeze overtime for all non-essential employees. It was also recommended that Public Works notifies the city manager for all overtime needed in an effort to be fiscally aware and only use overtime for absolute emergencies. We have done that. Public Works contacts me if they need to do any overtime. Any non-essential employees, we know everybody's essential, do not get overtime at all. We figured that out. So we've already implemented that. The recommendation is that the council discuss and give definite direction. Fiscal impact, cutting overtime for non-essential employees and non-emergency work orders will save each department money.
Specifically, and talked about public safety having nothing to do, they can't, everyone can control their overtime, but they shouldn't be limited for our public safety. And then there was quite a discussion when I brought up water not being essential, depending upon what you read, what is essential, what is not, depending upon government listings. Public safety is always held differently. As of today, water is obviously essential to our city, but specifically saying that there would be a freeze, something has to be done because we're in such a critical situation that my rationale for wanting you to be involved, and not just Public Works specifically, when we talked about water, that if there is a crisis, if there is an emergency, if there's a need for overtime, for you to be put in the loop, because you're the one's gonna be held responsible for the overtime. But there's gotta be some type of freeze, because we have to do something to go and stop the bloodletting on our finances. We've got to do something in drastic times, call for drastic measures. So that's my concern about the freeze, because we're still seeing bunches and bunches of hours, and so that's my rationale. Whether it goes anywhere, but that was my rationale for that.
And I do want to clarify, when I said Public Works, I did mean water.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody from the public? Anybody up here? So things are being addressed. All right, that sounds good then. Just keep an eye on things. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, NB8 was pulled per the request of Councilmember Smith. And so we go to NB9, City, California City, Second Amendment City. This is discussion item only. Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Thank you. So I was told it was pulled, so I wasn't ready.
NB8 was pulled, not NB9.
Or that MB9 wasn't even agendized, but it is here. So what I am requesting is that we direct staff to direct the city attorney to make our city a Second Amendment sanctuary city. We see all the time where there's sanctuary cities, or, the state of California is a sanctuary state, but nowhere have we seen that there is a community or a municipality that is a Second Amendment city. So I'd like to have discussion between us and the citizens and see if we can make our city a Second Amendment city.
Anybody from the public?
First of all, I am a Second Amendment supporter. So,
Councilman Paris, as with Councilman Smith, you should have put something out there.
Jim, Dave?
Jim Creighton.
Thanks.
Give the public something to look at and research so we can get up here and make an informed comment. Based on what you just said, there is a Second Amendment sanctuary city in California. It's Needles. They did it back, I think it was 2017. But you need to reconsider that, because regardless of what a city does regarding declaring themselves a Second Amendment sanctuary city, the city will be in violation of state law. As a matter of fact, that was recently announced in national news. Currently, the state law states that the issuing authority, it's just hard to follow. State law states that the issuing authority of a county or a city within a county with a population under 200,000 people may issue licenses to carry loaded and exposed handguns. The license would only be valid in that county. The population of Kern County as of 2017 was 893,119 people. We don't qualify. This also begs a question for law enforcement as to how many felons reside in Cal City. Felons are not allowed to possess or carry firearms. This would seriously impact law enforcement by stopping and verifying if a citizen is or is not a felon. And again, for the record, I am a Second Amendment supporter, but I just think we're going down the wrong path with this one.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so I have a question for you then. So you're saying that, if we become a Second Amendment city, then we're giving the citizens the right to open carry? Is that what you're saying?
Is that what you're saying?
No,
You're the one that brought this up.
absolutely not.
If you're a Second Amendment sanctuary city, you're allowing people to bear arms in public. Essentially, that's what you're giving them the right to do. Violating state law.
Yeah, no, that was not my intent.
See,
so-
there was no clarification, there was nothing for anybody
I understand
to.
that, but I was told that it hadn't been agendized, so I didn't prepare.
Oh, it was in the table of contents, it was in the first
I
two
see
pages.
that, but again,
Needles has already done it, and they did it based on commerce from Arizona, being as close as they are to Arizona.
okay, and so they gave their citizens the right to open carry.
I don't know what the exact law is there. All I know is that they declared themselves by city council, unanimous vote, as a Second Amendment sanctuary city. Mainly so that people from Arizona is an open carry state, so people from Arizona coming over to buy whatever they want to do, I don't know why, the taxes are damn high out here anyway. They don't have to stop, unload their weapon, put it in the trunk, and then come into town. That was the main reason behind it.
Okay, so, again, let's, yes,
I apologize, I didn't do a staff report for this, so that's why I said it wasn't agendized, I apologize. She had put it on for discussion, it was my fault about that. Do you want to do a staff report, the next one?
what I'd like to do is, let's contact Needles and see exactly if they, if they produced a resolution or what their statement of fact says. As if you're right, we would be in total violation to open carry in this city, and that's the last thing I want is to have open carry, so.
Bring it back
Yeah, let's bring it back.
for more discussion. So, fair to everybody? Okay, we'll do that. We'll just continue it on to the next, same bat time, same bat channel, and, we'll go from there. Sound fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. Public business from the floor. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the city council on any matter not on this agenda and over which the city council has jurisdiction. Please state your name for the record and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Yes, sir.
Good evening again, Mayor, City Council, public. Again, Todd Broussard, President of Little League, Parks and Rec Commission. I just wanted to bring the public and council up to speed on the positive things that Little League's currently in the process of doing. We had a field cleanup and renovation project last Saturday and Sunday, pretty good turnout. We got a lot done. We do have a public Little League meeting. It's open to everyone at DiMaggio's tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. If anybody's interested in coming, we'll be discussing discussing, permanently amending our constitution where we have a separate fund that's solely for projects and renovations of the infrastructure that's dilapidated. We will be having a registration at CCMS on Thursday from 6 to 8. We only got a couple of registrations left, so if anybody's out there that wants to have their kid play baseball, now's the time to get it done. This Saturday and Sunday, we're gonna be having another field cleanup, from 8 AM till whenever we get done. Tryouts are gonna be February 22nd and 23rd. That's also the very last day that, your child can sign up for Little League. We'll be doing the draft and forming teams and stuff directly after that. Just to bring you up to speed on the projects that we've done, we've raised approximately $21,000 for field renovation. To date, we've pretty much barreled through all of that. If you guys haven't been out there recently, the dugouts are complete. We have the roofing, everything's completed on those. They turned out incredibly nice. Something the city can be proud of. We're hoping to, in the future, continue down that path and renovate the minor major field, the juniors field. We've also nearly completed the fencing on the junior senior field. That was donated by Golden Queen Mine to complete that project, and we're still in the process. Some stuff was back ordered, but we will have that done probably by end of week. Last significant day is opening day for Little League. It's March 21st, it's Saturday. We'll probably be inviting you guys out as well, and some of the people that stepped up and donated significant amounts of money to complete the renovation project. Today we're doing pretty well on registration, but we could always use more. So if there's any kids out there that are interested in playing baseball, again, registration at CCMS on Thursday, and that's pretty much it. Also, if you're parents of Little Leaguers, this Saturday and Sunday, we'd love to have you come out and help us try to get the fields and stuff squared away before tryouts, which are the next weekend after this weekend. So that's all I have, gentlemen. Thank you.
One question, what time is opening day?
I don't know if we've had a time, but generally it's 9 o'clock. Well, but that's not inked yet. So we'll probably be discussing that tomorrow at our public meeting.
And thank you so much for what you do for Little League.
No problem. Any other questions?
Play ball.
All right, thank you.
Any other public business from the floor? Seeing none, council agenda. This portion of the meeting is reserved for council members to present information, announcements, and items that have come to their attention. The Broward Act precludes council, staff, or public discussion. Short staff responses are appropriate. The council will take no formal action. If we do, we get banished from the land of Nod. A council member may request the city clerk to calendar an item for consideration at a future meeting or refer an item to staff. Anybody have any AB 1234s? Yes. Councilman Lucevic, sir.
Don't really have too much, or no, I don't have really anything, but, trash got picked up on Monday in front of my house. The wind was blowing, the trash can didn't have very much in it, blew over, and Waste Management drove by and didn't take it. So, I guess what happens is, the question is, how do we talk to them? You know, they promised us service, they promised they'd do the little extra things. My trash can didn't get emptied because it was knocked over and they didn't want to get out of their truck to deal with it. What do we do to get something from them? A phone number, a call, a response? What do we do?
I can get you their contact, but usually, and unfortunately, they promise a service, and then I will get a complaint, I'll call them personally, they'll go take care of that specific problem, but it's not an overall fix.
Correct.
Yeah.
What I have seen in the past, it seems from where somebody calls in a complaint to the immediate supervisors. And then between A and B, there's a breakdown. Because I called them before, talked to people on the phone, very polite, very professional. I've talked to the supervisors, very polite, very professional, and everybody seems to be online until you go from point A to point B, and then it's nothing. And the one thing that is concerning to me dealing with that, and I don't mean to have your conversation, I apologize, is the fact dealing with propane. Also, the trash. I can't tell you the amount of people that have complained because their commercial trash cans need to be replaced and they're not being replaced. And it's taking people a long time to get propane when they need it. And so it's a concern.
And staff can tell you, sometimes I embarrass them, but I will send pretty rough emails to Waste Management. We'll see a little bit of increase in business. I'll do it again.
Thank you.
That's pretty much the story.
That's it. Sir?
Got a number of calls today regarding the water issue. I made the statement and someone got snappy with me. I said, the water problem didn't happen overnight. And they said, yes, it did happen overnight. So I'm trying not to say that again, but this has occurred over a bunch of years. How many times have you seen something as bad as happened today, Mr. Bergen? Is this unique?
No, I mean, it's happened before.
But this many at one time?
No, I never seen this many.
Okay, I'm just saying, but in one short, I appreciated on Friday when Mr. Berrigan put out a list of projects that he wanted the council to say, these are important. And I think it's just, whatever we can do for water line replacement, I think it just needs to be, at the top. But, there's a whole lot of miles of water line that is out there. And, hopefully it'll be a different wake up for people tomorrow than it was this morning. But I would, there's a cry for water line replacement, so whatever we can do. And when we get done doing what we can do, we're still gonna be lacking. But I think it's just a cry for that. So I am grateful you put that out to us. And, from the citizens, we need whatever we can do in that, I think is a major priority. Thank you, sir.
Sir?
Just wanna thank, Water, Public Works. I actually got up early this morning because I saw the water running down my road, got in my truck and took off. And the first person I saw was Mr. Joe Berrigan right in the middle of, with all his staff out there trying to, fix the blowout at, George Mamaya's property. They had already shut down the one on, Big Xavier, and that was huge. I'd never seen so much mud in the road for a long, long time. That blowout was extensive, so, they did a great job today, trying to handle everything, and to see our Public Works Director with his rubber boots on out there getting the job done. Now, I don't know if he had his rubber boots on, but he was right in the middle of it, trying to, accomplish everything with the group of men he had out there. I really appreciate it.
That's it, sir?
That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got some pretty incredible city employees. And whenever it turns to ugliness, when the dust settles, they're still standing there shining. We've got a lot of incredible. Well, in Joe's case, he'll do muddy, but he'll do it proudly. So if you see him out there, say hi, tell them thank you. They do a lot for us, and they need to be recognized for that. We've got some incredible city employees that work for this city, and our water department today absolutely shined.
Yep.
They were incredible. With that many blowouts, and I had some people flag me down because I went driving around looking to see how bad the damage was. Because there was the ugly phrase, state of emergency came up to play this morning.
Sorry.
Oh, no, and it was a legit call. So I went out there and looked around, and we had some people that didn't understand why we had, later on this afternoon, we had hydrants flowing and nobody around. And so you try to explain to everybody that you do this to bring the pressure back up so you don't get water hammer and you don't blow apart the system. And a lot of people said, oh, okay, I can understand that. And all it took was a little bit of talking to. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for attending tonight. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you, staff. Thank you, everybody. And looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
First and second, all
Aye.
in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you again. Good night. So are you gonna be here for tomorrow? Or not?
Except for when I
For yourself. I didn't know that, that's your hourly wage.
I would be here.
And I'm also a pro.